this year so far, it looks like it's been, yeah, then the one player winning, and then the next series they face off against each other the next week. It's the other guy.
Yep, just been trading it out is in the bottom right. We will start off with our red Protoss player. This is going to be nice.
And his opponent, up here in the blue, it's Cyan.
Always nice when Cyan is in the blue color.
Yeah, not turquoise, not light blue.
Well,
Cerulean? Sorry, I'm just flexing with my collars now. I don't even know what the difference is between any of those.
I'm just happy that he's not in red, loco. Like, I'm a simple man. I don't have quite the same color spectrum that you do, apparently, but...
I was just trying to flex here, but I have no idea what the difference between any of those things are. It's fine. Cyan is just light blue in my mind. Am I wrong?
Light blue? Yeah, kind of. I think so.
There's like 4 graphic designers watching this right now. They're like, no, you guys are wrong. It's entirely different. There's more green in there. It's like, okay, sorry.
Sorry, guys.
It's all right. So I Google Cyan, and the first thing that shows up is 75 plus shades of Cyan. Most of them are blue. Yeah.
Most of them are blue.
Most of them are blue, man. It's fine.
Lovely. Well, we do have a cheeky little probe out over this side just to start us off here as well. So that's just going to be chilling over on the right as we get underway. Just going to drop down a little pylon. And that's going to be nice. Obviously not like super proxying, but maybe hiding something over here. Maybe even just hides the pylon to make it more difficult for his opponent to figure out. You see this probe in his main base. He could just drop tech over there for the reason being that, hey, he doesn't want this probe to see what the tech is. So we'll see what he decides to do in just a moment. Could be I mean, it kind of feels like if you do anything here, maybe a robo and you go 3-gate robo, apply some pressure. That's the sort of thing that doesn't need to be heavily proxied. And there we do see the robo going down. Doesn't need to be heavily proxied, but it's nice to hide. So yeah, I kind of like it from nice. And away we go with that, as it's a fast expansion for Cyan. We said we wouldn't see a lot of these 1-gate expands, loco, but Cyan just dove on into it.
I do like to see it. So Cyan, well, obviously he's been scouting his opponent's main base, right? And that's the weird part of Protoss versus Protoss. You're counting your opponent's structures, and you're trying to figure out how many pylons they have. So Cyan knows here that there is a pylon missing inside of the main base of Nice, but he doesn't know if it's aggressively positioned. He's looking around in the bottom left-hand corner. He's looking around in the top right-hand corner, trying to scout for any proxy Stargate or something like that. And one thing we see all the time in PvP is just a pylon randomly positioned to try and throw a curveball at the opponent. Now, this time around, it is a randomly positioned pylon. It may very well be found eventually, but it's not actually that aggressive of a commitment. Although he does, okay, there we go, he does get scouted. He does decide to go for a prism first here.
Yeah, so 2 gates only though, right? So, like you say, it's not as aggressive. And I actually feel like it's not going to do much because Cyan scouts an immediate Void Ray, and boy, is he going to be set up well. If he pushes this back with a Void Ray, and then he's already on this expansion, I really start to hate this for Nice, because he's going to get into a whole world of bother. He puts a battery in the main, he knows it's a Stargate, he's prepping in case of an Oracle. Now he drops down an extra gateway. I just do not think he's going to get enough done with this first round of attack. I think Cyan's going to start absolutely steamrolling ahead in this game.
Absolutely, and this is one of the reasons why guys like MaxPax are such a big fan of this particular opener. Void Ray at this point is out. It is very critical that you get it going in these sort of scenarios, but there's the prismatic alignment. It deals so much damage against these units, and Cyan pushes this back with ease. And keep in mind, he fast expended off of the back of this. He's only got a single gateway at this point in the game. Nice needs to deal some sort of damage, and so far, I mean, he's been getting shut down left, right, and center. Oh, if he loses the prism, that'd be a disaster.
Yeah, he's gonna go up to 4 gateways, so he's gonna really keep on applying this pressure. He really wants to double down what he's doing, which I don't hate. There may still be an opening, but Cyan is doing exactly what MaxPax would do in this scenario, which is drop the forge, get a couple cannons at the front, and that means if you try and trade at the front, you're just gonna constantly take chip damage as Nice, and that is just enough then from Cyan to be able to hold on. You know, we mentioned MaxPax, and you say, well, Cyan's doing this just fine, because he was able to figure out what it was. That's what's important. Knowing what it is, you can defend these kind of attacks. Usually the difficulty is knowing what's coming your way and getting the response up in time. There's still going to be a good amount of micro required from Cyan here. As long as he executes there, he should be golden against this 4-gate prison play.
Yep, Nice is gonna double down on the aggression indeed. At this point, there's so many shield batteries set up though. There's a photon cannon coming up as well. Void Rays are diving back and forth, dancing with the Stalkers. Every minute that goes by right now, Cyan's gonna be able to just make more stuff than the opponent, right? Assuming his, well, his structures don't get taken down here. But the army here for the player in blue is growing quite nicely. Nice really wants to push through this. He hasn't done any damage yet up to this point.
Yep, as we dive forward again, we are getting to the point where the Stalkers can maybe start one-shotting the Voids. That's going to be the danger point here from Cyan. If he gets Void Rays one-shot, the batteries don't heal them, then there's, a lot of problems in that. So he's got to be a little careful. 3 Void Rays is good. He now has an Immortal on the way. That's the important transition. Start to get Immortals. They're a little bit more difficult to just knock on down with these Stalkers, and it really just gives you a little bit of extra tech to work with, and I think Cyan so far is, again, just doing this absolutely wonderfully.
Absolutely. Yeah, so far he hasn't lost anything important just yet. Now the Immortals are indeed coming up, and Immortals are amazing against these Stalker-based armies. Nice is thinking about maybe going into the opponent's main base. He's doing some good Stalker control too, don't get me wrong. He hasn't really lost any of them yet, other than just one, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Prism now going into the main base though, so I mean, that does mean that these Stalkers have to be a little bit more careful. Maybe these Adepts can start, well, dealing some damage, and they will get quite a few probe kills. It's just that the longer that this goes on, the better it will be for Cyan.
Yep, no, absolutely. The longer it goes, the worse this gets, as you see our Stalker's going to go back and forth a little bit further once again here. I'm just going to be seeing an extra battery coming through as well. This army continues to just look at each other and try and figure out what are we going to keep on doing. I mean, the thing is, Cyan's now starting to come out in front. He didn't even lose the gateway at the front as well, right? Which really says that he hasn't had too much issue pushing this back. Blink on the way from Nice. He's going to get to Blink, and essentially, I think at some point you just got to dive in, right? You can't just Blink back forever, because the batteries and the cannons will just continue to defend from Cyan. At some point, you've got to Blink in, and that's dangerous, that's scary, but what other choice do you end up with?
I think it's too late. I don't think he can really do that anymore. I mean, finally he's going to be able to get that gateway over there, but like, this has been a very awkward fight right here, right? I mean, dancing back and forth, dealing a little bit of damage, but ultimately just playing this into the hands here of Cyan. There is going to be a chance maybe for Nice to get underneath all of these units and maybe pop the Void Rays, pop the Immortals, and yeah, just point all of his Stalkers at one target at once. I don't think Cyan wants to be wandering too far away. Okay, so far so good. I mean, 40 workers right now. He could stop making probes. He really doesn't need this many.
Nope, absolutely not. As our Prism, I'm gonna just micro a little bit. I see Cyan just continue to pump out, Immortal, Void Ray, and the more of that he gets, the better off he's gonna be. Here's the Blink. We can Blink in the main. There's a cannon and a single battery in the main base, which will go down very quickly, so it takes away some of the strength of defense from Cyan. One of his gateways depowered as well, and this is the moment from Nice, so this is where he's going to be able to fight. He's going to Blink on forward. The Void Rays, where are they? Just not here. They're across the map, actually, so they're going to cause some trouble. We'll check in on that in a moment. Right now, these Void Rays and Immortals continue to go, and in the end, Cyan is just going to take it G to G's, and that is going to be our game.
We're not going to be checking in on those Void Rays, sadly, guys.
No, apparently not.
They were shooting lasers. They were shooting lasers at the opponent's structures, and Cyan realized, or sorry, Nice realized that his only way to defend against them would be to warp in tons of Stalkers and then eventually get underneath, and it turns out he wasn't really winning the fight over on the other side of the map either. So honestly, expertly played right there by Cyan. It's very delicate. I guess that's the best word to use when you describe that early game for PvP when you go for the expo on the low ground. You're not even really using the defense of a ramp. You got to be very much so on point with all of your decisions. And I think you brought up a good point there, like him scouting exactly what was going on in the game and seeing the proxy was huge, right? Because imagine if he would have done the exact same opener, but instead of going for a Void Ray first, he would have gone for an Oracle first and then a Void Ray. Then suddenly that just 2-gate aggression at that point, it's a lot more scary, right? Suddenly, yeah, the Oracle at home will probably be dealt with quite nicely, and then suddenly you have all of those units in your main base to contend with, and you have to get the Void Ray out. It's a lot more difficult. So finding that structure was the absolute key there, but once he did, he played it out brilliantly.
Yep, no. And like I said during the game, right, that's the kind of max factor, right? It's if you can figure out what's going on, you can really respond to these things well. What MaxPax does so well is figuring out what's going on with so little information, because sometimes you will find the robo and you know what's happening, but sometimes you don't, and then you can kind of put yourself in a real spot of trouble. We'll see if Cyan continues to kind of go for the faster expansions here, or what his plan will be, as it looks as though our players are just readying up. There is a little bit of VPNing going on between games, apparently, so sometimes it takes a moment, but I would say this was a pretty quick move into our second game.
Absolutely. We're going to be going to Alcyone. Not what Ben would call it, but that's okay.
Well, Ben would call it
LQ1, I think is what he calls it.
I think that was the Roddy.
Oh, it was Roddy called
Yeah,
it
Roddy
LQ1
called
and then Ben
LQ1.
copied it.
Yeah, Ben loved it, so he just adopted it straight away. Yeah, it was.
It is fantastic.
It's all right. Game number 2 in just a second. We are on the loading screen. The loading screen's taking a little bit of time today, actually, but apart from that, we've been pretty good at just getting things up rolling. So there we go. We are into game number 2 of this best of 5. And in the top right, we will start off with the blue Protoss player who leads this matchup 1-0 right now. It is Cyan.
And his opponent in this best of 5 series of StarCraft 2, it's Nice. High ground wall-offs this time around here for both players. We'll probably see gateways dropped here in just a moment. Yeah, MaxSpecs does it on basically every map, right? Is there a map where MaxSpecs currently doesn't open up low ground? Do you happen to know?
No, I don't think I've ever seen MaxSpecs play 2 good.
Yeah, it's just so uncommon.
Can you imagine if he did? And he's
That's
just
what
like,
makes it so interesting.
Yeah, what if he plays 2K and he's just terrible with it? He's like, I have no idea how this build works.
Well, there is certainly a chance, right? Because MaxSpecs grinds so many games that he figures out all of the details. And while this is inherently, I think, a less complex start than the low ground expo, it is still not easy, right? There's still a lot of variables. You have to know how to respond in every scenario for sure. So, yeah, I mean, there's definitely a chance that he is at this point about 10 times more comfortable with the low ground wall off rather than the high ground.
Mines out these minerals, Cyan. It's, he doesn't go down there. Sometimes he proxies on the bottom side of the map. I think this is more so a case of, in case your opponent proxies you, it's good to have access over there. So, I kind of like that.
No, absolutely. It can be kind of awkward sometimes on this map to actually path your units towards the bottom right-hand corner. Sometimes they go all the way around, depending on what has been mined out. Even though the units don't have vision of what's been mined out, the AI gets a little bit funky. As we do have Cyan right over here, building a pylon in the middle of the map. All right,
Yep.
Same can be said for Nice, but yeah, I would say that Cyan has a more aggressively positioned one.
Oh, yeah. I would say so. I would say so. It's going to be seeing our probe is sticking by it as well, both sides. So both of them want to do something with this. Robo from Cyan, Stargate from Nice, and have a little bit of a role reversal in terms of the tech structures placed down.
Absolutely. So Nice ready to start flying some units across the map, Cyan. Well, we'll have to see exactly in what order he decides to go for his units here, but he will certainly be bringing some aggression as well. As Cyan is scouting, okay, and he does find that his opponent indeed has built a cheeky little structure on the left side, and that is always nice to know, right? Because generally speaking, when you have that robo facility, you don't have your easiest answer against a Stargate-based opener, and well, at this point, Nice hasn't yet seen his opponent's proxy, although he's coming dangerously close to it. Oh, he doesn't see it. Oh my god.
Yeah, this is annoying because you don't know what you're playing against. It's hard to get that response up. Oracle can still be nice against the proxy robo because it does force units on the other side of the map. It does force some pressure there. Eventually, the battery would drain out of energy, so it's not a terrible thing to be building, but not knowing what's coming your way can be very scary.
Absolutely. Prism coming up right now here for Cyan. Oracle coming up indeed from the left side of the map. Adept did manage to shade in, and they're going to be able to get quite a bit of damage done. Ultimately, both of these units will end up going down, but that's 7 probes.
That's kind of just too much damage, right?
Hello?
Yeah, don't kill your own probe. Nice is like, yeah, I love the idea of killing probes.
Another Adept I didn't see, but not the case.
Getting a little bit too involved on that one as we do have the Prism coming around the right side. Twilight Council coming up in a gateway. I mean, man, these are kind of weird robo builds because this is now 2 gates into the Twilight with a third gate. It's not what you usually see. We'll see what we use this Prism for. This feels more like you're just going to warp in 2 Adepts and keep this harassment up rather than anything else. The Oracles of Nice. First one is out. We're going to wait to stack both Oracles together and then send those to try and make a play as the Adepts are ready in at the other side as well.
Yeah, just warping them straight into the opponent's main base can always be nice. Cyan trying to just see if he can one-tap a bunch of those probes. Probes decide to run away. Should be able to get exactly that second one as well. But now the Oracles are on the other side of the map as well, going to town, I believe. No, it's actually a Adept that decided to sneak in. Instead, yeah, they're all the way in the top left-hand corner here.
Yeah, Oracles are just waiting to make their move. Blink now on the way from Cyan as Nice expands. Obviously feels as though Cyan's going to stay on one base and essentially hit a big blink timing eventually. and we'll see if Nice can have enough defensively against that when the time comes to it. Right now, the Prism just continue to harass, just don't die to the Stalkers, which so far it's doing a good job of. Nice is going to put a Robo down to follow this up, so I think he knows, okay, you're not expanding yet. I want to be a little bit careful myself. Get the Robo down, just play it safe, make sure I have defensive Immortals myself if necessary. Cyan might yet expand, man. He's got money stacking up, Probe on the low ground. We'll see if that's a fake or if he actually wants to drop it. He might just drop it, then pressure behind an expansion.
Absolutely. So Nice just sort of hanging around with his oracles at about the 12 o'clock position of the map. Now he's finally moving them around once again. Kind of reminds me of what Terran players like to do with Widow Mines, you know? They're just sort of hanging there in the corner, ready to go in when you least expect them. And this happens to be the moment where there are still 3 of those Stalkers available. Nice targeting there by Cyan. So he does get rid of one of them, but that's still 6 probes going down. In exchange, though, he ended up shutting down the Stargate on the left side of the map as well.
Stand that Stargate, the Prism, backing away for a moment as we are going to be using that in a big way very soon. Obviously, Blink is coming up, and Blink will be the big advantage Cyan has here, plus an army supply lead. Not much defense on this high ground. 1 pylon and 1 battery. Can't say I love it. Cyan will take some time right now before Blink is done just to work his way through this Nexus, take that advantage away from his opponents, and then we'll see how much he wants to commit up to that high ground.
Yeah, absolutely. Alternatively, you could try and just make an expansion on the back of this, because pushing up to the high ground is very tricky, but he already has an observer in position. You can at the very least start poking away at some of these units. Okay, attempted stasis ward over here on the other side of the map, and that's the Oracle going down. How much damage can he do with this attack? It's 1 Immortal versus 1 Immortal. Good force field to get started with, though.
that much damage, man. Nice is just going to be like, yeah, that's too much. I'm going to lose out on this, so he doesn't even wait around. He just types out the GG. And we are going to see Cyan rocketing away to a 2-0 start. We kind of felt like this was going to be a closer series than the first one, but I'd say across the first 2 games, Cyan's been in full control, whereas in the first 2 games of the Yeshi and Nami matchup, Yeshi really had to fight back into control a couple times over. So, yeah, definitely a great start so far here from Cyan.
Absolutely, yeah. He's been doing a great job just scouting around, knowing exactly what to do in every scenario, right? Like, there's so many variables in all of these matchups that knowing exactly what you need to do in each of these games, depending on your scouting info, is so complex. But he's been looking around the map, he's been finding whatever the opponent has been building, and he responds perfectly. Really nicely done.
Yep, solid stuff so far. As we are going to have Cyan now is just a map away. 1 map is all he needs, and he is already into that winner bracket round of 4. And obviously Nice would be playing from the lower bracket this time around. Nice also got eliminated round of 8 last season, if I'm not mistaken. I believe that was to Firefly, although I can't quite fully remember. I don't have the right page open to check it right now. But yeah, as we get ourselves readied up for this next game, we're just waiting for our admin, who has just relogged. And once they get back on, we'll get this hosted and we'll get this underway again.
Yeah. Previously, we were waiting for us. Now we're waiting a little bit for the referee, but everything's been going pretty smooth,
I
right?
bet we'll end up waiting for us again, though, you know? I bet that's how it works.
Yeah. The players have been here, though, which is the most important part, right?
Yeah.
They just need to wait for us and the production and all the annoying stuff that goes alongside with this as well. They keep chatting away, by the way, in the lobby. I wish I knew what they were saying.
I think that
no idea.
About
absolutely no idea.
Complaining about
I see
PvP
Cyan
balance.
writing 3 periods, you know, 3 dots right next to each other, but that's about it.
Maybe they're being really BM and Cyan's just like, bro, I just played well.
Yeah. Yeah, I just played better than you, man. Calm down.
He's like, ... Can you be better?
Maybe.
Right. Players are here. Hard Lead is going to be our map number 3, so we're going to kick this off in just a moment, kick this PvP into gear, and be able to kick this off. So, yeah, a nice time to turn it around, man. Cyan's getting the better of him both times over so far, and is about to, like I said, kick off into this 3rd map to see whether Cyan will just 3-0. Nice, that would be a real statement from Cyan. Of course, good to look good in PvP right now, because your next opponent is a Pros player as well. We just saw Yeshi advance through. That's the same section of the bracket, of course. So you're looking to play another Protoss. If you're looking to play another Protoss, then that's something you got to be very good at.
The other half of the bracket has players, or has the players Coffee, Firefly, Miomaika, and of course Oliveira, the current world champion. Always nice to see him showing up for these events as well. And it's actually going to be a really fun match, Miomaika versus Oliveira. Very different playstyles, to put it delicately. But anyways, game number 3 between these two is indeed loading up. It's going to be on hard lead.
It is.
I'm not just autopiloting into wanting to mispronounce the map names, but I'll go back to pronouncing them correctly, okay?
You've been conditioned when you're on the ESL broadcast to say things wrong because of last week.
Absolutely.
I get it.
This is what happens.
I
Yeah.
know. I get it. It's hard to let go of the memes of last week and to start anew, isn't it?
Exactly. Alrighty, guys. Hard let it is. Spawning right here in the bottom right-hand corner. With the blue Protoss pieces, we have the man who's been looking very solid in this best of 5 series so far. Can he bring it home? It's Cyan.
And in the top left, you're going to see our red Protoss player. This is going to be nice.
Is that the dog, Wardy? I'm on a bit of a delay. I can't see your camera. But
Yeah,
was that Ellie?
she is just trying to be part of the background. She's just like sliding in. She's like, hey, what's up? Be done
I'm
soon.
part of the decor now.
I'm ready to play. And I'm like, I'm going to be here for another 10 hours. And she's like, that's not cool. So I'm going to just stare at you a little bit.
I may bark if you don't give me attention, so give me some attention.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but lately she started crying. She's like, you know, she used to just sort of like look a bit huffy if you didn't give her attention. But now she sort of goes like, oh, no, play with me. Like, please. So, yeah, not yet, though. She's just
Vocal pets, man.
Yeah, she's just lying in a huff on the floor that she's not getting love, apparently, so.
Can't believe you're treating her this way.
I know.
Yeah.
Can't believe I picked PvP over the dog. Unbelievable.
Alrighty, so what exactly do we have here? Well, once again, Cyan going for what in my mind will probably always be the max spec start. Going for the low ground wall off here once again. It worked out perfectly for him in the first game of this series. Nice, has not proxied a second pylon this time around. That one's building in the main base, and I feel like that's always a nice moment here for Cyan, right? You can kind of breathe a sigh of relief a little bit when you see that your opponent is not going for anything cheeky. You don't really have to prepare for any sort of hype or aggression, so you can just play the game that you prepare. At least like this is like the go-to, you know? This is going down like the main path of the build order. And I feel like this is what Cyan is probably most comfortable against when he does open up with the low ground.
Yeah, I mean, there's just less to deal with, right? At the end of the day,
yeah.
So... yeah, no, absolutely great, as we just see Serral going to swipe away up at a pylon for a few moments. Couple Stalkers coming up, Warpgate coming out, and Depth and Stargate all building. And, yeah, we'll see what Nice wants to do. You know, right now, 2 gateways, yet to throw down a tech structure. How aggressive will he be? How much will he really try and deny this expansion? And how much is he just going to let it slide and just sort of be a thing?
Absolutely. Stargate coming up here for Cyan. He's thinking about making an expansion as well. I was going to say he does decide to drop it here eventually. That does mean, though, that Nice is going to have more stuff here for now dedicated to unit production, right? So he's naturally going to be the aggressor as he also decides to go for a Twilight Council. That's a pretty quick shield battery at home here. Maybe a little bit concerned of his opponent maybe going for some cheeky aggression on the other side. Zealot here really wants to hit the Stalker in the back, apparently. Wandering all the way around. We're waiting ultimately here until that shield battery is going to be done, and Cyan's finishing it up shortly.
Yeah, with that battery finishing, you will be in a much better spot, of course. You'll be able to kind of deal with these couple of Stalkers without really having any further issues. Yeah, third Stalker shows up, you better have your own second, again with the battery. Kind of getting drained, it's maybe a bit more of a problem, but 2 of the Stalkers of your opponent are pretty low HP as well, so I think overall we're kind of fine about this.
Absolutely. Blink coming up here for Nice. Now we saw this went earlier. You gotta make sure you commit at some point too, right? When you're fighting this sort of aggression. And this does get scouted once again, nice and early right here for Cyan. Now it's not quite as committed. We do have an expansion here on the low ground as well for Nice. But yeah, at the moment he's ahead economically, at least as far as the work account goes, because Cyan has been playing this quite conservatively so far. Maybe he can even up the work account a bit with this very first Oracle of his. Well, judging by the Stalkers and the shield battery, not gonna happen.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because Cyan is just not producing probes. Finally, we start up a couple more, but for the faster expansion, by the time his opponent's expand is done, they're actually going to be probably still a Nice's work advantage, which is just kind of not how it's meant to be. I understand. I mean, he's just over-defended. He 100% expected this to be aggression. But even now, like, he
also made like 4 pylons extra.
Yeah.
Yeah, he made a lot of additional pylons here early on. So rather than spending his money here on probes, he assumed, I guess, that it was going to be some sort of all-in here from Nice. But ultimately, that's a pretty big misread. And Now with this greedier opener, you end up falling behind economically. And now with even more probes going down here as well, this is looking a little bit more shaky. Now, of course, it's not the end of the world whatsoever. This is something you can certainly recover from in this matchup, but not quite the start, at least, that he was hoping for. Not quite as dominant as what we saw earlier.
Absolutely not. This feels almost as though Nice is about, Cyan is about to be the aggressor, you know? Like, second Immortal, get a Prism and just send it. But I don't know how well he would do against Blink being up from his opponent, extra gateways coming in. He is starting to move out onto the map, so maybe we do see some aggression here. We'll get Twilight behind it, so whatever it is, it's not fully planned to end the game.
Yep, I thought for a second as well that maybe he was cutting probes to like make it look like there was some sort of expansion play going on with an expansion, but without the probes, you know. Sometimes we see those build orders getting mixed in. They don't seem to be particularly strong, but they can definitely catch the opponent off guard. But ultimately, just a little bit delayed right there on the worker count. We're just going to play a bit of a macro game on the back of this. Nice has decided to already drop down a third Nexus. Well, Cyan not really in a position to really punish this.
Nope. Really, I mean, maybe you can move out, and if you move out and get across the map against the Blink Stalkers, then great, but I just don't think he'd have the confidence to move out. Cyan's just played this so weirdly, like way overly defensive. You mentioned the pylons, well, great, they were fantastic and not letting you be supply blocked, but they've run out now. He's not had to build a pylon in a while, so now he's 70 out of 70, and yeah, I mean, I just think Cyan is genuinely playing this worse. He's going to go Dark Shrine. His opponent's building a Robo, that's at least a good start. It's obviously not a guaranteed defense. Obviously, you still need units in the right place, observers in the right place, but just generally speaking, I think Cyan is just giving up what could have been a great lead.
Absolutely, yeah. No, he was just misreading the situation a little bit, right? When you go for a build that requires so much, sufficient scouting, it's very easy to accidentally get a misread as well, because you're always dealing with limited amounts of info. Now instead he decides to build a third Nexus as well at home, whereas Nice's one has already, well, now finished, and it's gonna, at the very least, allow him to get a lot more economy going here for a while. Is he gonna be able to get a push going here too? I mean, at this point he's got Blink done, so he may as well try and see if he can get some work in. Cyan doesn't have those upgrades finished just yet. It's still going to be about a minute or so until his Blink finishes, so Nice will have full map control for the time being.
Yeah, with Blink you may as well go and see what you can do, right? The only problem is going to be that he doesn't currently have much detection. The one observer's across the map. If one DT runs into the third, one into the natural, one into the main, there's going to be like a real conundrum here for Nice. He's going to start taking a lot of damage, and he probably feels pretty good right now. He's like, oh, I'm on my way to cancel the third base, but if he loses 10, 15, 20 workers here, which I think all are fairly reasonable possible numbers, this could be bad. Next observer starts up. I think we've just noticed the DTs warping forward, so let's see how much we get done still, because like I say, observer still has to produce the DTs in multiple places. The one on the natural is not controlled onto probe, so we're just missing opportunities. Like I say, I want to see 10 plus here, see this as a success. 7 so far. I don't think this has been enough at all. Next DT just walked straight in. Man.
In the meantime, by the way, Nice did not end up killing his opponent's third base, so Cyan did manage to hold on just barely. He took a beating on that third Nexus, but at the very least he did keep it alive. I think now it's up to Nice to go across the map, right? I mean, he's got a good amount of army. 71 army supply of 73 right now versus only 43. But that is a timing window that is going to close over the next minute or two. So if he wants to go, he should go right now.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's kind of go time. As, I mean, Nice's work count's gone down, so he did take some damage. He hasn't been probing himself. I think it's absolutely time to send it here. As Cyan obviously has some potential of his own. What's important is there's only one observer of Nice. If Cyan can snipe that one observer, then he can just use DTs to defend as well. So then the army supply advantage doesn't matter anywhere near as much. So that is a possible factor. Again, more defense is ready. Let's see if it will be enough in the end. I mean, it is as well. The tech units here from Cyan. He's gone multiple Archons, 4 Immortals against basically just gateway units. The one Immortal's the only tech from Nice. I think that makes a big difference as well. As this observer is very far forward from Cyan, I think that needs to just step back immediately, honestly, as he will probably lose that. Well, it doesn't matter. We're just going to see this big fight breaking out. Prism will start a micro. Super Battery will pop. Stalkers blink forward for the Super Battery. That's going to be their choice of target. And there's so many Zealots to eat through right now.
Yeah, ultimately, StarCraft 2 can just be a numbers game, right? Nice getting so many units out over the last couple minutes. I mean, Cyan has the higher tier army, but I don't think it really matters all too much. That being said, I mean, if he somehow... Nah, there's no way he's going to be able to hold on. If he would have been able to hold on here, it would be nice for him to keep the third base around, but... Not quite the game that he was hoping for, I don't think. A bit of a misread right there at the start, and ultimately that is going to allow Nice to play this macro game, trying his best to deal with the Dark Templar, handling them quite smoothly, all things considered. I mean, he still has to break through this base. It's also awkward, my god. 17 probes have gone down, though.
Yeah, this is a little bit, of a funky defense as Cyan is kind of surviving-ish. Obviously, if he does end up living, he's down a base. Oh, he's still down a lot of army supply. It's unrealistic, but
nah, there's no way.
He was trying, man. He put his best foot forward for it.
Absolutely. Microing his heart out right here. That Prism just trying to get as much value in as possible, but ultimately, I mean, the supply count is telling us the full story. There's a Dark Templar coming up as well. Maybe there's not a lot of detection anymore, but one invisible guy is going to have a hard time cleaning up all of these units. GG is cold. And at least it's not going to be a 3-0 win right here for us, right? We're going to game number 4 here.
Yeah, we are going to see some games, which is lovely. That's what we want to see. Obviously, we want to see things kind of continuing, going back and forth a little bit, and that is what we get. So, as we have Cyan and Nice going to map 4, Nice really able to finally kind of capitalize. Cyan, I think, just made a lot of mistakes in that game. Like we said at the start, there's a lot of pylons. He definitely played overly defensive to have such a fast nexus, end up behind on workers. Even felt the DTs could have done a lot more as well. If target firing was not quite there with those, that could have been double the workers killed. And you know what, in the end, that might have made the difference, right? Because at the end of the day, you know, you were at a situation where it kind of came down to, like, it was maybe not a super close attack, but if you take down another 5 to 10 workers, your opponent's already on a very low economy, there's going to be so much less reinforcements. Maybe it does just make that difference. Maybe it's a bit longer to clean up as well. Either way, we're going to Solaris for map 4, put that map 3 behind us, and see if Cyan can get back on track. As Nice, of course, sits at a 1-map disadvantage still. See if he can win 2 in a row to bring this back to even and take us to our first Game 5 of the playoffs of this season.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think going for that low ground wall, it just has less margin for error, right? So you make a couple slip-ups here and there, like you overproduce pylons, be it for base defense or just a couple macro errors here and there. And then you cut a few probes as well in the meantime, and it's all just a bit messy. And ultimately, you end up in a worse position than if you just open up with the much more conventional and maybe even safer 2 gateway start in this matchup here instead. So Cyan really wants to play with the Cyan colors, but the referee keeps telling him, change the colors.
He's giving his opponent blue. That's what he's doing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he knows he has to be blue, but his opponent's blue, so he has to change to Cyan, so then he can change to red, or the other way around. So yeah, just
I feel like Cyan should get an exception to also play with Cyan. If he's forced to play blue, it doesn't really matter.
They'll never allow it. They'll never allow it. You know, it's funny because talking about like players selecting colors and stuff, there was one time we did the War Chest Team League, I guess, and we actually added it into the mod that the referee or the admin of the lobby could set the color. And I was like, man, this is so sick, because so often in games, like, you know, players swap the colors around, or even like just the order they join the lobby resets the color that they have. And so it's like, it's got a bit of a hassle. Be like, oh, can you swap the players at AFK? Then they don't read, they don't realize, they don't remember. I was like, man, this is a game changer. We finally added it into the UI so we can just set the colors. And, you know, the admin has to set up, like, you know, player names and stuff as well for the mod. I'm like, okay, this is the future. And then we've just never seen it again. I'm like, huh. I'm just going to...
okay, I thought you were going to bring up some sort of deficit here, or, like, some sort of thing that didn't make that, like... Okay.
No,
there was no reason to not have that?
No, we just literally didn't write it back into the new mods that got made. I was like, oh. So we're back to just asking the players to set their colors.
I've never really thought about it very much, but that sounds like a no-brainer. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, maybe next year. Maybe we'll bring it back. As in the top right, looking to bring it back in this series and get up to a win after losing that last map. It is Cyan.
And his opponent in the opposite corner of Solaris. We're looking inside of the main base of Nice. Playing a solid game number 3 for sure. Yep, we'll have to see what he decides to do. No proxies or anything in that game, right? So, yeah, I'd be surprised if he decides to go for something like that in this particular game.
Cyan's like, man, this won't get expanded so bad. Expanded faster and I still lost. Like, bro, didn't make pro.
He didn't make probes for like a minute, though.
I think it's more than
He's
a
like,
minute.
I made 4 pylons in advance. I could make so many workers.
Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna have so much worker production. I need 4 pylons, and then proceeds not to build workers. I really do think it was the icing on top of the cake that I was just like, you know what? Once I've used up all the supply, I will hit a supply block. It's been that long since I built a pylon. I forgot that we have to keep doing it.
Yeah, no, it actually sucks, right? Like, you accidentally make extra pylons or SCV, or sorry, supply depots or overlords or whatever, and then you ultimately still hit a supply block again later because you just haven't been thinking about it at all. Yeah, I think it's one of those scenarios where it just started off poorly for Cyan, and yeah, you're just sort of out of the groove, right? Like, the flow is just not quite there, and the whole game just becomes a bit of a disaster there for him. So hopefully he can clean things up a little bit right here in game number 4.
Hopefully, as our probes continue to chase each other around, Stargate coming about, a couple of Adepts coming through. Just seeing that Warp Gate coming up. Again, a couple of Stalkers are nice just on the way in, as you get things settled.
Stargate opener here for Cyan. Not going for the low ground expansion, of course, this time around, but opting for the more conventional style instead, with the 2 gateways inside of the main base. He's going to be going straight into 4 Adepts as well, so he'll definitely try to get some sort of work done with them. Sneaking them into the main base is, of course, the main goal in this matchup. If you can sneak them in, that would be awesome. But that's, of course, also why we do have units and probes waiting on that high ground to try and complete the wall off to prevent those shades from coming in. And so far, good target firing right here by Nice, trying to get rid of these units. And I think he's going to be able to get one. There we go.
Gets himself a cheeky little Adept to start things out. We do see, the Oracle coming up then on one side, and that's going to be the big difference. Cyan will have a bit of map control with this. His opponent will have scout information via the hallucination on the sentry. That's basically the difference we're playing right here. His Adepts will not commit with those Stalkers approaching. We do have the hallucinations already been scouting, and the Adepts still trying to get into position over the next couple moments.
Twilight Council's here indeed coming up. Oracle is now available here for Cyan, so he's going to be putting in a bit more aggression this time around, and I honestly don't mind it. I think being the aggressor, especially when you need a bit of a reset maybe, is usually just a nice way to play StarCraft. It's really easy to get fancy with all of your build orders and try your very best to be as defensive as possible, but usually being the aggressor just feels a lot more comfortable. So now it's up to Nice to be in all of the right places at the right time, and that Oracle in the main base, does he know about it at all? Well, he's got units in position. Okay, Cyan decides to just turn straight around.
Yep, just gonna back it up. Obviously, sometimes you wait for 2. We do have a second on the map, so when the second joins, maybe then you'll have an opportunity to get in and deal some damage. Both going into Blink, and it's pretty much the most similar kind of set of openings that we've seen. Obviously, one play with Oracles, one with not, but they're both going to end up on Blink at the same time. And it is just Cyan trying to get some more damage done early. We'll see if these Oracles can poke in for a little bit of something in the next moment or two. Looks as though he's losing the Adepts, but maybe at the price of a Stalker.
Nah, not quite just yet. Oracle's here getting 4 probes in, though, despite the fact that there's a sentry together with 2 Stalkers already waiting, so that's all very nice, right? Just even a little bit of damage when you're playing pretty much the same game is absolutely massive. Cyan, of course, now also has got his own expansion finished up on the low ground. And, maybe most importantly, he stayed on top of the worker production.
Yeah, 39 to 31 is a big difference. So an 8-worker lead for Cyan. And that is really good. And that's maybe just a difference of also not having to build as much defense. He didn't have to build... Well, actually, he did build the battery. His opponent did not. That's kind of wild, you know? He's actually been the more aggressive player, and yet he has more defense on the map as well. And more probes. All game.
Nice, though. A little bit quicker here as far as that Blink upgrade goes, because he has been chronoing it quite a bit more here than Cyan. So there's certainly a chance that he's going to be able to get some value in. How many Stalkers does he have out on the map? Well, there's 12 of them in total, but this is certainly not all of them. He shows his opponent the Blink. Aggressive Blink forward as well. Gets one of the Stalkers. Going to get a second one. He will. Not a bad start to this particular fight, though, but Cyan, in the meantime, is building a proxy gate in the middle of the map. He's also going for a 3rd base, but I don't think he really cares too much about this Nexus.
Yeah, it almost feels like he's getting that proxy gate up, so he'll go to 4 gateways. He will double his opponent's gateway count. And then, I mean, like you say, does he really care so much about this Nexus in that case? Right now he's fighting, but he's so far behind on army supply. He needs to get some of these Stalkers to even things up a little bit. He is warping into the middle of the map, by the way, so he can intercept these Stalkers, and now they're going to see this proxy gateway. Huge. They've already blinked, but we're going to get 1, 2, 3. Wow, that's a lot of kills. That is absolutely huge.
That was lovely control right there by Nice in that first engagement, but then he got cut off in the middle of the map, right? So those low HP Stalkers ended up getting sniped. Now Cyan still has his third base around, by the way, and that's always really good as well. He could certainly go for some hyper aggression here on the other side of the map. The one shield or sorry, not the shield better, the sentry coming down towards the third base as well. It's gonna help a lot with that Guardian shield.
The Oracle's recalled away from the bottom left corner, but they're straight back across the map. If they just ran into the main right now, there's nothing to defend. There is 2 Stalkers on the way back to defend, so... And they had a moment if they'd just gone. Obviously, they set up the stasis wards instead, something you can maybe utilize here as Cyan. He's going to kite back into those, as he really wants to get this third of nice. Obviously, being the aggressor now, it is on his opponent to defend. There's a depth that's shared into the natural at the same time, so Cyan is just trying to be a little bit everywhere, and he is getting some damage out of it.
Nice actually just hit a massive supply block here as well. He hasn't been able to reinforce his units for a while. At least he's got an Immortal going, so that's kind of nice, but he was indeed not producing anything else for a while. Okay, eventually the Oracles end up going down. We did have a big stasis ward over at the third base as well. Is that Immortal going to stay alive?
No, absolutely not. The battery's gone. The Stalkers all caught in that stasis is a huge deal. And the Stalkers will turn back in this direction. These Stalkers as well have Blink on cooldown because they were stuck in stasis. And now we are going to be seeing Nice really just falling apart a little bit. That is a huge deal. Cyan is really chipping away at Nice, and I love how he's playing this game. He's just all over him. He's everywhere.
Absolutely. Yeah, tightening the game up a lot compared to the previous one that we just saw, where things seemingly weren't quite so smooth for him. But in this game, he's making all of the right decisions, and he's microing very cleanly as well, right? Once again, moving forward. I mean, we've had the third Nexus here for a while, but Nice just doesn't have a lot of workers for it at all. Whereas Cyan, in the meantime, at home, has been happily macroing off of, well, basically full 3-base economy.
Well, that definitely makes a bit of a difference as our Stalkers come in. One Immortal gets tagged. We go back and forth a little bit. I'm just going to be seeing the extra gates all coming up here on the side of Cyan with charge on the way through. Again, the full 3-base eco is strong. He's about to start turning that into units, and once he turns that into units, this is going to be a big deal. More depths in the natural, likely going to get a probe or 2 before they get cleaned up, and again, that's just the power of what Cyan is doing, forcing his opponent to split apart, losing mining time, losing workers. Cyan just continues to edge himself further and further ahead in this game.
Absolutely. Even making a Nexus now at the 3 o'clock position as well, so he's not going completely all in with this, although that probably wouldn't be a bad choice. He decides to just play this as safe as he possibly can, so when he's ahead, he's going to try and get more ahead in this game. And getting the 4th Nexus is certainly the right call. Now, there is an opportunity here for Nice. He hasn't really been making a lot of workers here in quite a while. He's been sitting at 46 probes for a long time, and that means that he is ready to just start piling on the pressure on the other side of the map, right? So gateways are finishing up, Charge is finishing up, Prism is coming as well. Well, I say finishing up, Charge is not quite done yet, but it's gonna be finishing up over the next minute or so. I think what Nice is planning on doing is just make a ton of stuff and move across the map. Maybe catch his opponent off guard, while Cyan is maybe just getting a bit too fancy with his upgrades and all of his infrastructure and that base all the way on the right side of the map. There is a chance, but Nice needs to essentially win the game with his next fight.
Yep, and he is. I mean, the thing is as well, even if Cyan's out of position, he loses his 4th base. So what? You're still 3-base to 3, right? So it's not the end of the world if this base goes down. Although he is obviously feeling good enough to try and fight it. He gets in position in the end, so he only loses a cannon and a pylon. So yeah, this is looking as though it's going to be okay. Stalkers were massed on the left side. Looks as though they're going to come back over the right. Army supply is slightly favoring Nice. He is behind on the upgrade. His own charge just finished. Can he hit this timing well enough? Can he actually get in here and make a big difference when it comes to dealing damage?
Yeah, he's got so much, right? Cyan is honestly playing an amazing game of StarCraft here, not really skipping a beat. Now he snipes the Observer here as well, so Nice is gonna have to go up to this very dark high ground. He's still warping in as many units as he possibly can, but now we're talking 4-base eco here for Cyan versus barely 3 for Nice. Everything is going well. He even gets the Prism, and I think that may just honestly seal the deal. Is he going to chase this army? He really doesn't need to, but he may as well give it a try.
He absolutely can, though. That's the thing, right? He's got the Blink, he's got the Charge lots, the still tank in front. Once it gets down to Stalkers only, he may not stay in range of it, but he's absolutely done enough right there. Cyan pushing Nice away, and honestly, +2 finishing, so he's going to be up 2 whole upgrades. He could go straight to the other side of the map and just send it on the 3rd base, I think.
I think that's probably the plan here. I mean, he is just crossing his T's and dotting his I's here, makes a 5th Nexus, and at this point he can afford it quite easily as well. Prism, okay, maybe in some trouble here, but Nice does not end up getting it there. Yeah, we can trade out Stalkers and Zealots all day, but that is gonna go in favor of Cyan over time for sure. He just has way more money coming in, and the longer that this goes on, the more units he will be able to produce. Then again though, this mass Stalker army is very good at just constantly sniping a unit and then blinking back, so that's honestly also the only option that Nice really has at this point. If this army gets pushed into a corner and he has nowhere to run, well, he's gonna be in a world of trouble, as he does get a free Immortal here.
3 and more, but then he walks in and gives up a few Stalkers because, again, the army of Cyan is just so much better. GG says Nice. He's had enough of this. He's like, Cyan, if you're not going to come and kill me, I'll just leave the game.